Recording in progress.
Well, good evening. This is a Greenbelt City Council work session. My name is Emmett Jordan. I serve as the mayor. Council, will you introduce yourselves, please?
Kristen Weaver, Mayor Pro Tem.
Hope Council.
Danielle McKinney, council member.
Jenny Pompey, council member.
Amy Niesel, City Council.
Rodney Roberts, City Council.
Well, thank you. Any information items for the good of the order? I think I have one. Anybody else have anything? Okay. Let me just say this. So we hold these council work sessions on Mondays, Wednesdays, several times a month to exchange information with community stakeholder groups or to gather information from staff, advisory boards, or residents. No votes or formal actions are taken at work sessions. Work sessions and meetings are open to the public except for executive sessions as authorized by state law so that residents and others can observe council's deliberations. We do strive to provide a reasonable opportunity for the public to voice opinions on matters being considered, so we'll pause periodically for public comment during these times. If you're in the room, just raise your hand. After being recognized, you can go to the podium, the microphone, and state your name and state your address if you're comfortable. Just more or less, we need to know that for the minutes. If you're on Zoom, you can submit a written comment using the Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen, or you can raise your virtual hand. And once again, after being recognized, you'll have to provide a name. We don't accept anonymous comments on Zoom. And finally, if you're watching on cable TV, Facebook, YouTube, or any other streaming service, you can send us an email. The email address is questions@greenbeltmd.gov. So with the public comment, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes and speak on one topic related to the question under consideration. And we ask that you avoid disparaging or questioning the motives of others. In general, let's be civil here tonight. So, let's see. Back here. This is a very exciting work session to me. We'll be talking about the Greenbelt Armory. The Armory, it's a historic facility in Greenbelt. It was originally built as a National Guard armory in 1954 on land dedicated by the federal government in 1949. It had not been in active use for several years, and the city of Greenbelt, we approached the state and the National Guard and HUD about getting ownership of the armory. And after a year, 2 years, it took a little bit of work, but we were able to actually get a hold of the armory. So over the past year, we've been working hard to try and visualize the future for this building. And we entered a contract with the AMAR Group. And Janelle Anderson is here, from the principal with the AMAR Group. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, man, I'm sorry. To Laura. Yeah.
Yeah, that microphone I think you have to get much closer to, so you might have to really.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay, it's odd hearing myself. So do I need to start over?
Well, yeah, you could start over. You know. I was just going to say we've had about 3 work sessions and 4 public meetings to try and garner public input into what we might do with this building. So the AMR Group has been very, very helpful, instrumental in sort of bringing these ideas together into a format that we can talk about tonight. So,
Yes, and thank you for allowing me to be here today. I have really enjoyed the work sessions that we've had over the past year. It seems like there is a lot of interest in this site, and people have been very engaging not just the residents, but also the mayor and city council members who have come and shown a lot of support and a lot of information, good information that we've actually used to help us to craft some schemes for the site potentially. I know that this is just one step along the way, but I think we're pretty excited about sharing the images that we have for you today, so that we can get some initial response on what we've presented, and that will allow us to move forward and maybe make some adjustments and come back with something if we need to make adjustments, that you can make a decision about. So we'll present the three schemes and get your reaction on that. So I guess as soon as it's queued up, we'll get started.
Yes, Ms. Pompey.
Can you just remind us about how many public sessions you did and the ways in which you engaged the public for those who may not know about the sessions that you conducted?
Okay, thank you. Yes, we participated in, I believe it was 4 engagement meetings. We started with an introduction. We had a session where we had likes and wants. We had a session where we presented with boards and allowed the residents to put different stickers on those boards. And then we had an advanced session where people could write notes and basically respond to some of the precedent images that we shared with them. We also had a meeting that was gearing up for the consensus. So we had breakout groups where we met with the residents and broke them out and had working sessions with them. We had a charrette where people were actually engaging in providing their ideas about what they wanted on site, both programming and building types, that sort of thing. So that it was a really wonderful, wonderful process. And I could tell that the residents of Greenbelt are so engaged and they're really so savvy. So it was very enjoyable for all of us at Amar.
Very good, very good. So we've got 3 concepts that you've kind of fleshed out, pulling all of that information, all that input together, and also with the expertise that you've got, you were able to present us with this information tonight. So we'll work through the presentations, talk a little bit about it, and that's how we'll proceed. Mr. Roberts?
So how many people attended this meeting?
I don't remember the actual number. It seemed like there was between maybe 30 and 40 or 50 people
They were
that showed
the-
up.
How many different people came to the different meetings? Pretty much the same people to every meeting?
I mean, there were some people who came faithfully to all the meetings because the meetings were set up. It was sort of a progression. So you wanted to have the same people sort of show up and be engaged in the different activities. But yeah, there were different people who showed up too.
We're a community of
I'm sorry?
We're a community of about 25 or 30,000 people. So to make this decision based on 30 or 50 people,
Mm-hmm.
I think is kind of a stretch. And I think they also didn't have anything to look at. If they had these plans to look at or some plans to look at, it would be different. And maybe we could have got more people. So I think the next part of the process should be to have more meetings for the public where they can look at the actual what you came out with, because just making up plans based on the input of 30 people, in my opinion, is not acceptable.
I don't know if I'd agree with that. I think in total, I came to all 4 of these sessions. In total, it's about 120 people, I think.
That might be a little bit high overall, but I would say I was gonna comment also that since I don't believe Mr. Roberts attended any of them, there were actually things to look at. There were preliminary concept plans, especially at the last two maybe, there were actually designs that people could give very specific feedback on. So I'm sorry, Mr. Roberts, that you didn't avail yourself of coming to those meetings and seeing what was presented, because it was actually quite comprehensive. The beginning was much more like just throwing ideas out there, but by the last one, they actually had very specific designs that people could say, oh, I like that, oh, I don't like that. And the other thing I would just remind you of, Mr. Roberts, is that recall that we discussed the community survey, I believe just on last week, and this is going to be a question, which of the plans residents prefer is going to be a question on the community survey this year. So that should get us some more feedback
So
from
if I'd have
residents as
showed up,
well.
we'd have had 31 people, huh? I think
Well,
It was more than 31. I'm
We've
not sure it was
had-
120, but
It's
it was
about-
more than
yeah.
31.
About 100.
I was
So
being
let's,
conservative.
Let's kind of keep moving.
Unfortunately.
Let's move.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr.
good evening, Mr. Mayor, good evening, council, good evening, residents. I think this is a good point to discuss what the expectations have been. Where at the beginning of this process, we presented council with a scope of work that outlined all the engagement activities that were planned and how we will collect the community's feedback on the three concepts council identified. And I'm excited of the concept and how we've gone from a blank canvas to getting all the things that were important to residents and putting them on paper. And Taylor and the team have done a great job of making the drawings, doing the cost estimates. I feel very proud of the work that the team has done and be able to present the three concepts to council. At the end of the meeting, I hope to get feedback from council and outline a roadmap. How do we get from these three concepts to what council will decide will be the product that you want? And then we move into the financing. So part of that outline and getting that additional feedback, not just from council, but from a resident, is that community survey. We will put these images up on our website, and we have considered doing, in addition to the community survey, an additional survey to get to what council needs to make an informed decision. Ultimately, this is a decision of council informed by the public, and then we'll get to work. So the team, I'm grateful for Tim and his work to getting us where we are, in addition with Taylor and the team. We'll pass it on to council, and then it comes back to us to get to work on finding the funding and getting it built.
Well, thank you. Any other comments from council? Yeah, Councilmember McKinney.
I think just to clarify as well, is if I'm looking at this, these are concepts. So the whole point of this is to share concepts based on the feedback that we received from the public. They're not designs, they're not decisions, they're simply concepts that provide us with not coming with the blank canvas, but to actually give people, to Mr. Roberts' point, something to look at to be able to give much more productive feedback.
That's correct. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's go ahead and dive into the concepts.
Great. So in the first scheme, understand that as part of the RFP, initially, we were asked to come up with a scheme for the fire and EMS station. A second scheme was to come up with one for the municipal building. And then there was the third scheme, which was going to have resident input to basically lead the direction on what that third scheme was going to be. In scheme number one, this is the fire and EMS complex. We basically, in this one, maintain the existing garage structure, and we repurpose it for storage spaces for the EMS facility. The EMS facility, which is identified as B, would be a 20,000 plus square foot facility that would house the emergency vehicles. It would have some training spaces. It would have the sleeping areas and eating areas within that facility. And then on building C, which is the two buildings side by side, that would be a food and beverage amenity. something that would allow the residents to come and partake, stop off and have a coffee in the morning, and also allows an opportunity for the fire and EMS staff members to partake while they are within the facility as well. In this scenario, we're also providing a trail that links back to the connecting neighborhoods, adjacent neighborhoods. But it's a good opportunity to maintain the existing structure, repair it, and then provide that extra storage that they may need. Moving to the next scheme.
Can I make a comment on this one? Or are we
Yeah,
gonna-
Mr. Rock, before you do,
Can we just comment on each one as they come up? Or how you want-
no, I think I would rather hear all three and then kind of open it up for council discussion. Can we get that image any bigger though? Just so,
I'm not sure who's
and remember,
controlling
you know,
it.
that's going on Zoom and cable TV.
Yeah, it's going out on cable TV because I can see it in the window.
Okay, very good, very good.
You could probably do it shared content only. Because we don't need to see the pictures of ourselves. Fourth on the list.
There you go. That's a little bit better, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's a little brighter up there, which is great. So in scheme two, this is the one that was really the third option that included the community engagement. This was people said specifically that they wanted a mixed use community, something that had residential components and also commercial components. People felt very strongly that they wanted a space that was more like a destination. And so within this scheme, we're providing at Building A, that would be a residential building that's 69,500 square feet. And it would include 31 units, and it would also include 18,000 square feet of ground floor commercial. Behind this building, we would be able to park 45 spaces. And additionally, within commercial space B, we're offering a warm lit shell for that piece so that you can get commercial, you can have an incubator. There are different options. People felt strongly that they wanted a restaurant, something that they could walk to. So this was pretty exciting that we'd be able to do sort of smaller scale commercial within an 18,500 square foot footprint that allows for some variety. And then for commercial space C, that is 24,500 square feet of commercial space. In this scheme, we're showing a coffee shop and also possibly the opportunity for the Greenbelt Co-op to utilize some space within this building as well. Tying these all together would be pedestrian trails and bike trails. We talked earlier in some of the sessions that it was really important that we had these trails that interconnected with the adjacent portions of the community. And so we're proposing three trails within our site. The idea too was to have a space that would allow for a lot of community gathering. That was something that came out even back as early as the initial survey. People were concerned that there weren't enough sort of smaller pocket park or community gathering space for informal gathering. And so we're providing some areas within this scenario where families can get together. If you're living in one of the residents, you can walk to the supermarket, you can walk to get your coffee, maybe sit down and have something to eat. Within the scenario, we're providing 145 parking spaces. And one of the other things that we thought of was to provide an amphitheater. So we thought that really making something that was more organic and something that allowed people to really walk and feel through the space, um, providing this amphitheater might tie into the trails. So we also included that. It would be an informal space. It wouldn't be. It would just basically be seating and then a small stage, but not like big audio or that sort of thing. Just an informal sort of space.
And that's north, sort of north of, behind the buildings.
That's correct. It would be north behind the buildings, like where the trail bends around.
Right, right, right. And then scheme number 3, are you ready?
And then scheme number 3. So the third scheme, this was the second option that was in our RFP. Within this scheme, we're proposing a 39,000 square foot area. And it would include 18,000 square feet for the municipal building, which is also tied into the commercial space that's 8,500 square feet. And that's another opportunity for a food amenity or a coffee amenity to take that space. And in addition, for for letter C, this would be a commercial lease space where several of the people commented, and a lot of people commented that they wanted some incubator space. And we thought that this could be a small scale opportunity to provide incubator space where people could then engage with the public and then have an opportunity to get their business off the ground. Additionally, in this scenario, we would be retaining the existing garage structure, making the repairs, reporting the brick, and then adding a second level to it and making this facility or this building actually a live work series of units. So there are 10 stalls, and this we thought fit nicely where it's basically functioning as a bookend to the incubator services that's provided on one side, and then basically retain and repurpose the existing garage. A lot of people really liked the image that we shared about the live workspace, and so we wanted to be sure that that was included. And so basically, we're increasing the amount of square footage. We're retaining the base and then adding another 5,000 to the top floor for that. In all of these scenarios, well, in this scenario, we're also including the trails and we're also including 150 parking spaces. In all of the scenarios, we are also providing bioretention, to handle stormwater. And also we're proposing green roofs and in all of the scenarios too. At least a portion of each scenario has a green roof so that we can absorb the stormwater management. Going on to the costs. For scheme 1, the fire EMS and the coffee shop scheme, we're saying that this one is probably the most affordable option just based on the numbers that we ran. There would be a minimal opportunity for revenue in this one, but it would provide that civic component that I know was part of the initial discussion. The base cost for this is 12.8 million, and with the markup, it comes to 20.3 million for that scenario. For scenario 2, that's the residential mixed use, and this one has the highest capital that's required for the investment, but it basically maximizes the neighborhood revitalization, allows for retail activation within the neighborhood. It allows also for people to not rely on a car, and so they can walk to these amenities on site. And it allows for tax revenue, which I know will be great for the city, and also for the developers. So it would be great for the residents, I know. This
Can you
would,
explain the difference between base and markup?
so the base cost is just the cost for providing the development, just base, if, if we're doing a renovation, the cost of the materials, the square footage, that sort of thing, whatever's going to go into the building. The markup includes percentages for contingency. It includes, and I do have it written out here. For each of the scenarios, it's 20% design contingency, 10% is dedicated for general conditions, 15% for overhead and profit, 2% is dedicated for insurance bonds, and then an additional 12% was set aside for escalation. Of course, escalation could potentially change. I think our numbers are pretty conservative, so we don't know, how these numbers will change in the future, but that's basically a snapshot of where we are right now.
Well, thank you. So, first, I want to kind of thank you. Just seeing the progression that's happened over time. I remember, was it the second or third community engagement session? We had the stands with 7 or 8 different concepts, I guess, and people were commenting on what they liked and what they didn't like, different types of surfaces and windows and just structures. So obviously, we've made a great deal of progress. Stepping back just a little bit further and thinking about the site itself and the current, the Armory that's standing there now, your team with engineers, took an extensive, a really, really close look at the existing conditions. And of course, we had the tour for staff and for council, and just seeing the inside of the facility and some of the work. So at one of our work sessions, you kind of presented the fact that it's really not feasible to retain the Armory as it is now. Can you speak on that, elaborate on that just a little bit?
Sure. As part of Task One, our team, which included us as the architects, and also the mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers, the structural engineers, the civil engineer, geotechnical, and building envelope engineers all went through, did a pretty detailed investigation of what was on site. And we did determine that there were a number of issues that were going to cause the cost of preserving the existing structure to really balloon. Some of the things included that there were water penetration into the building envelope. There were cracks that contributed to structural issues that we saw getting worse over time. There was an attempt at fixing some of those cracks, which included an inappropriate method of repair. Basically, they were using a caulk gun to fix some of the repairs on the exterior, which actually caused water to get behind it and be held within the wall. There was mold. A lot of the electrical needed to be replaced. It was failing or removed, just basically removed. And in most cases, and I'm not even thinking about the graffiti portion of it. But one of the other things, I mean, the heating system needed to be replaced. The water system, we needed water for our testing. We couldn't even access water for the testing.
Yeah.
And essentially, even if we were to retain the structure, a lot of work needed to happen to make the facility meet current code. So, there needed to be an elevator because you've got to have ADA compliance.
Yes.
There needed to be accessible bathrooms on both floors. And then there were also issues with the roof. So it was so many issues that, based on the cost analysis that we had done on the low
Right.
end.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
No, I was just agreeing that.
Oh, right.
with,
On the low end, it was 13 million, and on the higher end, it was close to 18 million, to be able to preserve the structure. We felt that that's pretty extensive, just to make the level of repairs that we needed to make, and that really didn't include everything that would need to happen, because we needed to know how to program the space, what was desired within that space, which could potentially require additional design work, an addition, or several other things too.
So as much as we wanted to look at preserving some aspects of the original Armory, just financially didn't make any sense. So in the cost estimates that you've provided, those all incorporate the cost of removing the current facility and remediating some of the challenges that are there, asbestos and other things.
Exactly. And so, right, the hazardous materials, based on the testing that came back, would need to be removed, and that has been taken into consideration on the other iterations that we've shown here. Essentially, when that hazardous material needs to be removed, the person has to be certified to remove those materials. And also, they have to be properly taken to a facility that will accept them as well.
Right.
That
that
there's a
cost-
premium.
It was about 17 million.
Yeah, on the lower end for the renovation, everything that needs to happen within the facility was 13 million. On the higher end is 17.8. So yeah, 18 million. But yes, it would be included. Everything would be included.
Okay. Let's see. Mr. Roberts has his hand up.
So I'm wondering, how much of the existing forested area on the site would be left with each one of your scenarios?
Yeah, so it was really important that we maintain as many trees as possible, which is why we pulled any redevelopment as close to the current driveway as possible. We are making very minimal raising of trees that are on site, and in fact, in our new designs, we're adding trees to the site.
How much of the existing forested area would remain?
It's a very small amount. I don't know specifically what that is, but
Very
it's
small amount that would remain.
No, that would be taken. It's almost the entire forested area will remain for, yeah.
no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the plans were set up, and if you look at the inset in the drawings, it kind of shows you where the designs are. And in general, the designs are all going on existing parking lots and the existing footprint of the building all the way out to the upper left. A couple of reasons. One is we want to preserve as many trees as possible, and we really are not taking down any. Maybe a couple, but
minimal.
But the idea was to put all this development on the existing flat top. Now, the other thing is there is a riverbed, a stream bed that is protected. So we're staying out of that 100-foot protected area anyway. So even if we, not that we wanted to, but even if we wanted to, you can't go too far to the north anyway because there's a protected river stream bed. But no, if you look at the, like I said, if you look at the inset, almost all of the development is on the already cleared flat lots that are there now.
Okay, my other question is, well, my comment is that the scenario with the firehouse on it, do you have a hall included in that? Because what the a hall is very important to the firehouse, because if we want to get county funding on a project like this, from what I understand from our firefighters, is the county doesn't normally fund a hall, so they would fund the area to keep the equipment in, and which is why they were interested in keeping the original building, because it has a large hall in it that we could reutilize. So if they don't have a hall, then they have no place to have things like their crab feast or a place to rent out for revenue and things like that. A hall is very important
Okay.
to the firehouse, and I don't see that in your plan.
Well, I think in this plan, you won't see inside of any of them. For our designs, we do have open spaces within the plans themselves. And we're more than happy to make some adjustments so that we can provide additional space. We made it as open as we could within the footprint, but we can reprogram some of
Okay, I
the space to
understand that,
include
but
that.
and then I want to go on to the commercial plan. I really, well,
Speak.
if I could just go through mine, and or everyone else can go through theirs.
I don't
You know,
think
and
that's
there's no
exactly
sense in
how I
helter
wanted to go.
skelter.
Is that council's will?
My concern with this plan is that it is going to take away from Roosevelt Center and Greenway Shopping Center. It's providing stuff that we already have, and we need to help the people in Roosevelt Center. We don't need more of the same thing that's going to take away from Roosevelt Center. Roosevelt Center is our center, and it should be helped, not hindered. And this would be a severe hindrance, I think, to Roosevelt Center. That's my opinion. And the municipal building, we don't need a new municipal building. We need more space for some of our workers. We don't need it. Look, how many people we got here tonight? We got 1, 2, 3. We don't need a new municipal building for millions of dollars, because our citizens are taxed to death already. So we don't need to spend multi-millions of dollars building a new municipal building. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Niesel.
Thank you. I have a question, please. I don't know the answer to this myself. And so sort of in reference to Councilmember Roberts' concern, can you tell me exactly how close the back of this kind of Armory site would be to GHI? Because I see that at least in the inset on scheme 3, I believe that these are GHI homes like at the top, which means that we would kind of be extending a path system. And then if this is correct, then right on the other side of this road is where lots of residents have asked for streetlights anyways. And if we're turning that kind of whole thing into a boulevard, it would ostensibly attract people to Roosevelt Center, especially if there's more parking there. Just a
Right.
thought. Am I correct in that, like,
So
assumption
those
about
aren't,
distance?
so those are bike trails,
Okay.
not driveways.
No, but pedestrian trails.
Yes,
correct.
pedestrian and bike.
Yes.
Right.
And
So,
about how far is that distance?
I'm not.
I think
specifically sure.
I think it might be helpful. Yeah, I've got that up on my screen.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I
I
just
think
haven't-
in the packet, I have it open, Miss Anderson, if you stop sharing and I can. Oh, can I just take over?
Oh, that's great. About a half a mile. Thank you. I'm sorry. I was looking at these pictures and
Yeah, I
ignoring
think
the packet.
for those sorts
Okay.
of details, I think these that were also in the packet, because this is the one you were concerned about, number 2, right? The residential mixed use.
Oh, I was
So-
just trying to figure out kind of how close the back of the development would be to GHI, like how much of a walkability factor there would be from this potential development to GHI and the Roosevelt Center.
And I think these diagrams that were part of sort of the extended memo give a little bit of a better sense. There is a scale, although it's a little hard to read. I can't totally read what that says, but I think this gives a better sense of the distance.
Thank you. Thanks for calling my attention to that.
So I'm just going to ask, just in terms of the site plans for all three of the plans, the connections, these bike trails and pedestrian trails are all pretty much the same?
They're pretty similar, yes. We
Mhm.
wanted to keep in the spirit of what we shared with the residents, but also make trails that were leading in the directions that we talked about as part of the meetings.
Right.
So, yeah, they're pretty similar.
Yeah, so there's a connection to University Square. There's a connection sort of leading out towards our national park and Greenbelt Road. And then inwardly, there's a direct connection there to the parking lot with GHI. And I don't know, I guess that's about 4 blocks or so. On a bike, it's very bikeable.
I think we've heard about a half a mile.
Sounds about right. So the site plans are very, very similar. And, 1, 2, 3, which of the three would you say is the least impactful, just in terms of the amount of pervious surface? And of course, you already said that there's not a lot of trees that are going to be affected. We'll plant more trees, but which of the three would have the least impact?
That
I
would be
guess any
scheme
impact
one.
is actually good because it's a sheet of concrete.
Right, right. And, and that's why we did concentrate things in the same area where there already was a concrete slab or, macadam was already there. I would say to your question, scheme one has the least impact. And because it's pretty compact, and so between that and the third scheme, were the two, I guess technically the third scheme, well, yeah, no, both, because both retain the existing garage structure. So, so that wouldn't be removed. But in terms of the footprint itself, it would be one. It would be one.
Okay, all three keep the existing garage structure, but number 2 builds a second level or green roof on top.
So the second option, right, so the third option incorporates the second level to create the live workspaces at the garage. The second option, did I say second already? I meant the third one. The third option incorporates the second floor over the garage. The second option eliminates the garage. So we're essentially putting a new building in that space.
Okay, Councilmember McKinney.
This might be more of a question for Mr. Semmelone or Mr. George, or maybe even Mr. Mason. What you're presenting here again are concepts around how this space can be used. But there
Correct.
probably is another step that needs to be taken that is around like market research, a feasibility study from the standpoint of, you said commercial lease, but we need to look at how all of our commercial spaces are being used in the city and where the gaps are, and then what could potentially go in here before we say, okay, it's just gonna take away from something else that we already have. Is that potentially another step that would come after this type of effort?
It can, and we have discussed it internally. What are some of those, if we were to look at them as performance measures that we need? So one of them is taxable assets. Like what's going to generate tax revenue? What's going to be self-sustaining? So we've had those conversations from the beginning of this process. When John came on, we were looking at other concepts, and I think we discussed some of these with some council members, that the state has funded another Armory development, and it was led by a community, a nonprofit, and a developer. So it created community space and commercial space to see what gaps, to cover what commercial space gaps were needed in that area. So there are things that we have discussed internally, how to make this a right fit. But what's driving this process to get it to council is council identify these three concepts. I think the next part of the conversation, I think it's, well, what is in the interest of the city? Do we want taxable properties? Do we want the new municipal building, the fire station? There's a few strategic moves that can be made with the fire station. So I think that merits more discussion. It can be rolled into the scope. I think anything we do at the site and require that strategic and economic development conversation. I spoke with the team early. Well, it might be premature what the internal conversations we had about staff and what their preferences are, and they're mixed.
All three of the concepts, they all have the Greenbelt amphitheater area.
They
embedded in it.
do. And one thing I will say about that, we thought it would be a really nice feature to basically help people guide them back along the trail and back to an amenity within the woods. One thing is that amenity has to also be accessible. And for it to be accessible, it comes with a cost. And so that cost is about $1.5 million to make that work. So if we took that out of the equation for all three of them, that will, bring the price tag down a little.
I
It was
like
just
the
an
idea.
opportunity, yeah.
I like that. Member Tim?
Yeah, one just comment for staff. I think that it looks like this updated version, the numbers are different in the one that's on the website right now. So if we can make sure we get this updated version, because
Yes.
very, very different base prices. I was a little confused looking at this versus on there, and then maybe also the presentation, if we can make sure we get those up there. But so one thinking about this, and all of these are a fair bit of money. Any of these designs. Are there any of them that are better suited to maybe phasing in and doing part of it at times? I'm thinking about, for example, that amphitheater might be something that could be done separately or funded separately. Did you think about that in terms of the designs and which ones might be able to be almost more modular, so we could start with what we can afford at the beginning and then add on to it over time?
Sure. I mean, technically, you could do that with any of them. I think where it probably would make sense would be for the scheme that has the largest amount of program. So essentially, that would be scheme 2. And in that one, you could maybe start with the residential component if you wanted to, or whichever component you wanted to start with. You might want to start with the commercial piece so that you could get income coming in, and then provide the residential component later. But it's usually the other way around. It just depends. But no, I hadn't thought about the phasing of it yet, because I was hoping that you'd be like, oh, well, we want to get rid of these two. We want to focus on one.
Yeah, I'm not sure that, I don't think we're going to be prepared to decide that super quick, because as noted, we have on our community survey that will go out with the election a question about this, and I think we need to have some time to get some more resident feedback with these sort of more final concept designs, even though I think some of them are similar to what you already presented to some of the work groups.
Sure.
But I think we have some opportunities coming up to get some wider feedback, and maybe not as deep as through those community engagement sessions, but some wider feedback from the residents.
Well,
And I'll update the plans and everything so that everything matches up.
yeah, the idea of phasing this project, or how we kind of do this one piece at a time with a broader vision is something that I've thought of as the way that we probably need to approach this from a financial standpoint. But just looking at the plans also, I noticed, the legends here, the graphic legends. One thing you've got geothermal field listed on each one. So is that were you thinking of geothermal heating and cooling, or what's the geothermal field?
Yeah, so that was really an exciting component for us. I included the numbers in my narrative, but I didn't include them with the price tag for the schemes because I wanted to just keep it at the base. But essentially, we thought this would be a great opportunity because we essentially have 105,000 square feet of space on site that would allow us to provide a geothermal field. And basically, for our highest concentration, we would need to serve a 450-ton service. We would be able to provide that utilizing 180 wells that are spaced 25 feet on center and that penetrate 500 feet in the ground. We have the space to provide it. We thought that it would be a nice green approach, and we were really excited about it until I saw the price of it. And I said, well, maybe I shouldn't. I did share it.
It's still
But
exciting.
I didn't share it in the presentation because I said, well, I'll let them have a heart attack over that separately.
Well, no, our
Um,
Public Works building has geothermal heat, and we built that one about 20 years ago, I guess. It's got geothermal something in it. Yes, it does. But I love the concepts. I love the amphitheater. I'm thinking that the trail system is and the amphitheater. Those are outdoor amenities, and that's something we might more easily be able to get some funding for initially. Uh, Personally, I think the live work lofts. I think that's incubator idea. I think that's very exciting, and I think that the idea of artist lofts, or adding another level in the green roof, it's something they've done that in Hyattsville quite a bit.
And it was well received. All of those concepts are here because those were the things that the residents said that they really wanted.
Right. So another question is just like the traffic circulation, and that's not addressed in these concepts, but
No.
knowing the street that leads from Greenbelt Road back into University Square, so that's an existing roadway and parking spaces. That's all something that would depend on the utilization that we decide on.
Exactly. Yeah. Parking is determined based on the use, the actual use.
Yeah. I got a couple of comments online. There's a comment in the room. Anybody, any council members, any further questions or thoughts that you want to share at this time? Because we'll circle back in a few minutes. Let's see.
So we have online, Clay H. Wants to know, are there any plans to retain the stone facade or entry on the existing armory? And I guess that's even if we don't retain, I mean, I think the bigger question from that, even if we don't retain the entire building, are there pieces that might be reusable or repurposable in some way?
Yes. And I know initially that was one of the things that we really wanted to be able to do. I know as part of our initial survey, we determined that a lot of the limestone panels were connected with an inappropriate structural connection, and so quite a few of them are failing. So we would maybe be able to salvage some of the limestone panels to be able to repurpose them as part of a portion of the facade or several of the facades. I know we have a few of those limestone entries that we would love to be able to reuse. It'll take another level of investigation to find out like which pieces we would be able to salvage. But yeah, I think it would be lovely to incorporate them into any new design.
And with the plans, the three schemes, you've kind of referenced, you know, the limestone panels and the brick, just the way that that you've gone about rendering these three concepts sort of speaks to the original design of the Armory in an abstract kind of way.
The other question online is from Jay Davis. How realistic is it to think that the county will continue to fund a new firehouse considering the current situation with our volunteer firefighters? That's definitely an interesting question.
There's a new chief in town. Worth a conversation.
Mm.
Okay. So the site plans, very similar footprints. The impacts, not that severe. Let's see, Mr. Orleans, I think you have your hand up.
While Mr. Orleans is walking to the podium, there's another from Cynthia Jefferson that just came in. On the residence plan, would they be 55 plus? I missed how many floors and how many units there would be. Thank you.
Oh, we're
Okay.
planning on 3 floors. We're anticipating 31 maximum units within the residential.
As for what they would be, I think that would be a question for council. What housing issues you hope to accomplish with a residential mixed-use development there?
So we could potentially look at affordable housing, senior housing, some sort of community housing for people with disabilities. We could look at a lot of different options potentially.
Correct,
Yeah, absolutely.
including market.
Or a blend, a mix of all of the above. Mr. Orleans?
Hi, Mr. Orleans.
I went to certainly the first of the 3 sessions we had earlier. Also the second and third sessions out of interest, but also for the food. I just want to express my disappointment that city management didn't provide that sandwich, cookie, and fruit cup buffet that we had. Those discussions much more interesting.
Noted, Mr. Orleans.
Whatever, I'm glad the mayor pointed out the traffic circulation question. Whatever ends up being on that site, there's going to be some re-engineering of that larger intersection area necessary. I missed the question apparently that Ms. Davis had posed online about the fire station. I know for years and years, it's generally been thought that certainly the volunteer fire department, but much of council over a long period of time, look forward to this site being exclusively used for the purposes of new fire station, which I've never necessarily been opposed to. But if the fire station is going to move to this site, it should not just be only the fire station. Not that the fire station should have mixed use and residential component to the use on that site, but it should be a public safety thing. The police department should be relocated to this larger public safety site so that the police department would be co-located with the fire department. And maybe even public works. That would certainly free up sites over at Kenilworth and Crescent for redevelopment. That could be redevelopment for all manner of housing. I'm not opposed to commerce, but as I expressed during those 3 sessions, the amount of commerce I see on at least 2 of these slides frightens me a little bit. But I have a couple of specific questions. I was trying to follow the 3 references, the reference to the 3 schemes markup calculations. And they're all pretty similar, not the same order necessarily. The design, contingency, general conditions, overhead and profit, insurance and bonds, escalation. Well, there's probably always an escalation cost that needs to be built into the development of any project. But to me, that calculation hinges more so on a private developer developing the site rather than the city planning for its ultimate use and hiring a builder to build to the city's specifications. A lot of these markup costs would not be, I think, necessarily obtained if the city were to develop the site itself rather than allowing a developer to do it. look forward to more discussion on this. I don't know when city council plans on making a decision, but there should be more discussion and more from the public, more of an opportunity for the public to participate in the final decision.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'm looking at the screen in the control room, and it's not showing this meeting anymore. Are we sure is this still going out on cable? Because usually I can see what the video going out is on there, and it sort of looks like it's rotating announcements.
All right. Mr. Rand?
So, Bob Rand, 19 Ridge Road. So I'm really happy to hear about some envisioning for incubators, just the general encouragement to also think about nonprofit incubators. The second point, though, is it sounds like it's accessible to central Greenbelt or Greenbelt Center, so the trails and the bikeable, walkable there, but it's really not bikeable and walkable to Greenbelt East or West. I mean, it's beyond the scope of this project to consider the highways that divide the three sections. But just wanted to point out that it's yet another amenity that's going to be developed for Greenbelt Center, but not available to East and West. Maybe that suggests some kind of a more consideration of a circulating shuttle bus that would connect Center, East and West, and also this new area. Thank you.
Yeah, your point's well taken. I think as the city evolves and as we move forward to more people walking and biking, perhaps the Ridge Road, from the overpass from the east, if there was some separated bike lane coming down there, it would kind of connect up to the east. I'm looking forward to trying to find ways to make those connections safer, feel safer. I love the idea of a shuttle. So, thank you. I believe Councilmember McKinney, you had a thought and another comments coming?
No, it was just someone commenting that it's still on Zoom, and that wasn't what it was, and now it's back up on the screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Councilmember.
Yes, thank you. This is also probably outside of the scope of this, but I wanted to just make a note to ask the question, how would any future development of that site impact potentially the usage and the navigation of the new 55 plus community that's coming there? Because I think thinking about the programming in there, we also want to make sure we're not impacting the quality of life of the people that might then purchase and live in that 55 plus community, since that's basically adjacent to it. So that might also be something that we ask when we're talking to community members, so that they're aware that potentially adjacent to this site, there is already in the process a community that's being developed for potentially seniors, and that might impact one way or another how they might feel about it.
Right. Mr. Mayor,
City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great question. We actually had a brief conversation internally. What do the future residents of this senior community want? And we couldn't ask because they're not there. So, but we understand that there would be an impact, particularly a fire station.
Correct.
Right. So it has some constraints. The fire station, the fire station has been an ongoing conversation for many years. From a strategic perspective, a fire station located there versus where our current fire station is, this would be a very strategic location, very accessible to not just all of Greenbelt, but also broader than Greenbelt. And a lot of the calls are beyond the borders of Greenbelt. So a station would be would have a broader reach. And those are conversations that I think depending on what process council wants to have, what are the strategic objectives that each concept would help accomplish?
Mr. Roberts?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about one of the things that Mr. Orlean said about possibly, more or training development at the existing public works site. That site is very limited because there's an 80-inch or 8-foot sewer pipe that goes through there. So there's a right of way for that sewer pipe. And when we put the last building in there that we had to turn it sideways and put it in it's not in the location right now that we really wanted it in because we couldn't go into that right of way. So if something happens with that, an 8-foot sewer pipe is a huge thing. If it ever ruptured or something like that, they have to be able to get to it. So that site is very limited.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I was just going to comment on something that Mr. Rand said, talking about we have done some preliminary looking at how we could improve Greenbelt Road and make that more bicycle and pedestrian friendly, to make those connections between east, west, and center, all three, because Greenbelt Road really is the artery. It's just not very friendly for bikes and pedestrians. But that's a long-term project and involves a lot of stakeholders, including State Highway. So we did some preliminary work on that. We got some funding to do some, I'm not sure they were even quite concept plans, but some preliminary feedback that I personally would love to see us go forward for, but it's just everything costs so much money. And that has so many stakeholders involved that if we have our vision for Greenbelt in 50 years, maybe we'll have a nice boulevard along Greenbelt Road that has lovely bike and pedestrian access all along, past, so that if you can get from Greenbelt Station to the Greenbelt Park and then come by this development and all the way to Greenbelt East, all on lovely bike trails. It's a nice vision. It's going to take a while.
Yeah, it's going to take a while. I'd really love to come back to those conversations. We were making quite a bit of headway on Greenbelt Road corridor, and just things, COVID happened, some other things happened. Mr. Summerall and Mr. Mason is in the room as well. And I've got a couple of questions about economic feasibility, but I'll defer to a council member, Poppy.
Thank you. We've talked a few times about the fact that there's going to be a question about this on our resident survey that goes out, kind of goes out, but that we use during election time, which is great, but it also takes us a long time to get the data back from that survey. So I just want to, encourage staff to make sure that we're disseminating this survey, or at least this question, in other ways to make sure that we get results a little sooner than we traditionally would.
Well, I can also say that we get all the questionnaires back ourselves before we send them off to the University of Maryland. So we can pull that data. We can pull the answers to those questions right away. So we don't have to wait, because it's extremely time sensitive. So once we get all those in and get them off the web, staff can pull just from those questionnaires. We usually get 600 or 700 questionnaires. So it's a task, but it's not too bad, and we could definitely do that. I agree. We don't want to wait until June or July of next year, because this can be a very timely answer, and you all are going to be having work sessions and other meetings on this, so we'll have that answer right away.
And I would like
That's
to add,
great.
I'd like to add that we're going to load this on our website, and we can create an additional survey to get at more than that simple question, which one do you want? Because the question is very narrow. But there might be other questions we may ask that are related to the concept.
Yeah.
Because there is some, as pointed out by Delora, some of the concepts have room for the different uses of the incubator space, the commercial spaces. An example that I just thought about on the question about the fire station and the need for hall, well, there's over 3,000 square feet being contemplated in commercial space right adjacent to the fire station. That right now is being listed as commercial space with outdoor dining, but that can be a food hall or an event space as well, because right now the concept is open space.
It is open, yes.
Yeah. So there hasn't been a decision to say this is going to be a kiosk type restaurant. It's open
Right.
commercial space with outdoor dining.
Exactly. We just, picked different scenarios for them. So,
Okay, great. I just want to make sure that we're, engaging folks as much as possible around this. So, thank you.
So I want to turn to, I just deferred to a question I had about the how we would go about financing something like this, and also how we would go about assessing the economic feasibility of these potential uses. I've often said that Greenbelt has far more infrastructure, more buildings than most other communities our size because the federal government built it all in 1937 and the subsequent years. So the idea of using this space and trying to figure out how to minimize its impact, its utilization, but also the impact on our taxpayers is something that is very, very important. So I don't know, Mr. Summerall, can you just give us a real high-level overview of what a few of the options might be as far as financing something like this, be it the city or a public-private partnership or bringing in somebody else to do it for us? And then I don't know if Mr. Mason, he's probably not prepared to answer. It wouldn't be fair to ask him, but how would you go about, in this day and age, this time, when you talk about commercial space for lease, how would you go about figuring out whether or not that would work?
So you mentioned the three paths to funding this. We did start to have preliminary conversations with partners, state level and at the county level, about how to fund these concepts. We met with the local government infrastructure unit of DHCD. And we showed them the three concepts and say, okay, let's look at this and what is a funding strategy we can put together here. We identified several. We also asked what other concepts, which concepts seem appealing or fall within the mission of CHCD. And in short, there wasn't anything in this concept that DHCD couldn't play a role in. But there's also a financing bond issue that we would have with all of them because the funding's available at DHCD. Some of it would be grants, other would just be borrowed money to be borrowed. So there are avenues. We are also planning to have a conversation with the county about which ones interest him and what funding strategies we can work together. A lot of what's driving our conversation is just to understand the realm of possibilities, as you asked it. Could this be funded? How could it be funded? Once we get direction from council of what strategic objectives it wants to accomplish with this site, then we would have a more tailored approach to our funding strategy, and that would include if council is interested exploring private-public partnerships for having a developer in the mix.
So the second part of the question had to do with just the economic feasibility in these times that we're living in. How would you go about figuring out the desirability of commercial versus residential?
Well, one of the tables listed here, Taylor's done a good job of looking at what cost and revenue are for each of the concepts. Just to recap, the fire station and coffee shop has the lowest cost, has a strong civic focus, but limited revenues. The residential mixed use has the highest cost, but also the strongest revenue potential. And the municipal commercial, medium cost with balanced civic community benefit. And I would say, depending on how we go about the commercial space with the incubator idea or a more traditional commercial lease, the revenue potential will come from those commercial lease spaces. The municipal building will not have a revenue source other than local taxes. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just kind of trying to get to that. So in order to kind of look at that residential versus commercial uses, I guess we'd have to really look hard at that and talk to some of our private sector partners to figure out what the demand is. I mean, we've got a lot of commercial space.
We do.
In Greenbelt, in that area, right across the street.
And to get to those revenue figures, we would have to provide some direction to an economic analysis. So if you want apartments, let's just say you want the residential mixed use. But we have to make the determination, well, what kind of residential you want? If you want affordable housing, there's a level of subsidy that needs to go into housing to make it affordable and at least qualified under what is traditionally HUD affordable housing guidelines. If you want it to be market rate, that's a completely different funding structure. Likewise with
thought mixed income is a concept where you have both going at the same time is something that's hard to do, but I've seen it.
right, and that's a
examples
blend.
done.
You're correct, and I was just giving you the two extremes. Obviously, there's a lot in the middle, and that could be a mixed income development where a portion of it is designated for affordable housing, another portion of it for senior housing. With such a small footprint, very little room to manage it because the concept contemplates 31 units.
Right,
So-
and it's predicated on, because we've got to park it. So, because, yeah.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, then Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, this is going back to the previous topic because since the mayor didn't recognize my hand raised before we moved on, but related to the community survey and that I think it would be really helpful. Maybe we can find a little bit of space in there to have a QR code or a short link to go to these concept plans right there in the survey, especially the one that gets printed in the news review. I know space is tight, but the QR code doesn't have to be very big because I think that's going to make it, and maybe even, I mean, honestly, even if people are filling it out at voting stations, even having some of these, like having printed out copies of these site design plans, so if people are filling it out right there, they can see what the three things they are voting on are. I think that's going to give us better and more meaningful results.
Roberts.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that the only facilities that we utilize that were built by the federal government are the outdoor pool and the community center. That's all. All the rest of the buildings were built by the city.
Well, we've got a whole lot of buildings, that's for sure. Let's see, Councilmember Niesel or Pope, any perspectives, comment? Yes, please.
Oh, and I forgot, there was a comment online too. Ms. Pope, Ms. McKinney, Ms. Niesel, and sometimes Mr. Roberts are hard to hear. So if you can make sure you speak into the microphone loudly, that was a comment from online.
I'm Dave Waples, resident 9 Forest Way. I'm a registered architect. I've spoken to council before about similar issues and particularly about the municipal building. But I've got a lot of thoughts, so hopefully I'll rattle them off quickly. First of all, please tear down the existing building that's on the site and do it sooner instead of later. The building is a liability. It does cost the city money. We are paying for that building, even though it was free. Having it sit there does cost the city money. Sooner, please. Think of that site as our front door. If I'm driving down Greenbelt Road, I'm not a Greenbelt resident, I just cruise by here every day. That's the site I see. Whatever goes there, that's what people are gonna say, that's Greenbelt. So it better look like something we want it to look like. It better be a presence. It doesn't want to be another shopping center. We got shopping centers galore. It doesn't want to be some rinky-dinky 1, 2, 3-story residential thing. I want to see a building that shows some presence on that corner. I was surprised that I didn't see at least 4 to 6-story building on that corner. That's what we need. That's a high-speed road. Nobody's slowing down and looking at things. People need to see something of some scale. Next thought. It's not the right site for the city hall. Isabel Gournier and myself made a presentation almost 2 years ago, and we went over potential locations. We talked about that as a potential site for the city hall. I haven't spoken to Isabel recently, but I don't think her thoughts have changed, but I don't want to speak for her either. But I still strongly feel that that is not the right space, the right site for the city hall. The city hall, if we do build a new city hall, you should build it in the right place for the city hall to be. And I don't think that's the right location. Fire station, if we need a fire station, that could be a monumental building. That could be a building that says that's Greenbelt. So I would say, yeah, if we need a fire station, that could be a decent place for a fire station. In general, fire stations need circulation. I know the schemes are pretty small. I looked at them as quickly as I could. This is the first time I've looked at any of these schemes. Fire stations work 100% better if they can pull through. Backing fire trucks around is no fireman's favorite thing to do. Any fire station I've ever worked on, and I've worked on at least 3 in this county, the county is going to want to be able to pull their fire trucks through that building. The other thing about that site, it's all about circulation. We need to see some real circulation diagrams. What's going on there? How do cars get off and on that thing? It's a complicated site. And saying we're going to put a couple buildings of this type or that type is great. My time's up. But we really need to look at circulation. It's key.
Did you have, I don't know if it's council's will to allow him, if you have more.
I would be happy to have him if he has more thoughts.
I don't have more to say right now because I really need to study this stuff more, but I would love to be able to talk to you guys in any manner about what I'm seeing, but I do need some more time to digest it to say anything else. Okay?
All right, thank you.
We had a comment come in via email as well from Dr. Rosato. A fire station right next door would be very disruptive. I assume she's talking about the 55-plus community. I also agree with Bob Rand. Once again, only Greenbelt Center is being considered in the development of this site. Unfortunately, nobody gave us an armory in East or West.
Councilmember Niesel.
So, given that this development is, realistically speaking, at least a decade off, have you, and I know it's impossible to predict the future, but I guess when we're thinking about future-proofing this plan as much as possible, does that still point you in the direction of, what was it, scheme 2 that you were?
You mean in terms of phasing, or?
Oh, no, just as far as what you think would really be best for the city as far as economic viability, thinking in like long-term planning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not making any decisions about that.
Okay, so let me rephrase.
I guess,
Did any sort of future planning go into these projections?
not necessarily.
Okay.
Because we basically looked at it from the standpoint of how can we generate some income for the city, not necessarily projected out over X number of years. But yeah, could we have a catalytic spark right now? What would be the best way to do that? That was more of our approach, and also gathering the information from the residents and making sure that that was incorporated.
Great, thank you. And I just want to make the point, in case we haven't made it clear enough so far, that this is going to be a question on the community survey. This is certainly not the last, this is very far from the last conversation we're going to have about this. This is the first time that council is seeing these plans, and we really thank you for bringing these to us so that we now can, all 7 of us and the entire community, really dig our teeth into the options that you put before us. So thank you.
Thank you.
So, council member, do you want 1, 2, or 3?
I really like to carefully consider things, so I appreciate this being our very first foray into the topic, and I am not going to go much further tonight.
Mr. Mason, you got any thoughts about the feasibility? Because I think we have to be very aware of the economic realities, and also just in looking at this, we have to make decisions that make sense. Personally, I'm very worried just about the number of buildings, the overhead that the city is carrying with maintaining all of the buildings that we have.
Sure, and first of all, good evening, council, and
Is that microphone picking you up pretty good?
hello.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So since I heard my name called 3 times, I thought I might give a economic development perspective. We don't have to look very far to kind of see that these type of projects are going on already, particularly in the state of Maryland. So just about 35 miles from here in Pikesville, they embarked on a very similar project with their armory, and actually did the ribbon cutting, I believe, in January of 2024. So if you want to see kind of a model, even in terms of the financing and how it was done, as Mr. Summerall has just mentioned, also their work with the state, you can kind of see that there is a model out there already. With regards to Greenbelt, so certainly we only get one bite of this apple. We know that, and the gentleman spoke so well about, we got to make sure, have to make sure that whatever comes out from all of this, it becomes a show palace for us. It becomes almost a part of our brand. And across the country, you can see these type of projects really are becoming the staple projects in community, albeit mixed use, where you have all these components. And of course, you probably already guessed what my favorite is. It incorporates commercial, community, and some residential component. And certainly TOD is big in Prince George's County, and there's no metro station near the site. However, we've got the most robust highway infrastructure right there at that site. So it can become a destination, easy access point, way to get there. And also with regards to incubator space, which I'm a big fan of, because budding companies that are doing innovation need a soft landing. And so we have a few of these in the county, but what I've noticed about some of them, and I won't call any names tonight, they don't have an amenities package that goes along with that. And young people who are starting companies, particularly those that are doing a lot of IT, some of the really innovative things that are going on right now with AI and everything, the work environment has changed. So we have to be ready to, embrace all of that, where they can get to all the amenities that go along with, being near places where they can have fun, and at the same time, be able to work in their businesses. So I did an amazing visit with DMV Iron, which is our newest, if you don't know, it's coming, newest gym. One of the most innovative gyms that I've seen, and I'm a gym rat. So, and this is coming to Greenbelt. So I asked the gentleman, why Greenbelt? Wow, this is amazing. It's 40,000 square foot innovative gym. And he began to just kind of outline, he was selling Greenbelt to me, about all of the infrastructure, being able to get here. And so if we want to really entice people to start businesses here, companies to come here, to understand it's a good place to do business, it's a good strategic location. If we want to reduce our tax base by bringing more commercial investment, particularly those that are doing new innovation, we've got to present a really good picture. And the gentleman spoke very well about that picture being created. We get one bite of this apple, so it better be good. So that's kind of my take on it.
Thank you. Very, very thoughtful comments. And people, I talk to people all the time. They drive through Greenbelt. Maybe they go over to Martin's Crosswind or shopping at the Safeway on their way to Nassau, or they think they've been to Greenbelt, and they've never really seen Roosevelt Center. So that site, just because of the number of people that walk by there, ride bikes, and drive cars, is very, very important. So I take your thoughts very, very important, I think. Let's see. So, Decora, I really want to thank you for all of the work that AMAR has done in kind of bringing us to this point. The public engagement and consolidating those ideas into three concepts. We've come a long way in a short amount of time. And I think the concepts that you've presented are very attractive. I'll say it again about the phasing idea. I do think from a financial standpoint, the only way we can really do something like this is to kind of phase it over time. There's so much uncertainty right now. So I wonder, with the trails and the amphitheater, that's program open space. We can maybe find funding for that and actually do that part pretty quickly, particularly if those access points are pretty much the same in all the plans.
Exactly.
Yes, Mr. Senior Manager.
That's an excellent point about identifying which sections of the project we can move. And I think you've heard some tonight. Mr. Waple said, demolish the armory. And one of the items we talked about DHD was, is there money to demolish an armory? And yes, there is. There's grants. So there are things that we can move forward on. And we welcome council's direction on how do you want to break this up. If you chose to go, say, a residential commercial space, there are partners in that space that we can start engaging and figuring out a funding strategy and how to break this project up. So there are opportunities. Ms. Niesel raised a point about future planning. There were the designs are informed in part by what we heard from council, minimal disruption to the space. They wanted to maintain as much green space as possible, and that's why the concepts are limited to what's already impermeable surface, because from the feedback we're getting, not just from council, but from the residents, it didn't want any more green space intrusion. I think that also limit the other parts of the project. So I think it's very thoughtful in that regard. The two concepts, we informed a lot of the two concepts from the perspective that we knew we wanted to vet the fire and EMS station, and we wanted to vet the municipal building. So the one that Taylor and the team really had room to work on was that residential commercial space. And I want to recognize the points that Mr. Waples made about this being the gateway part to the city. So it's important that it's really, really nice. When he said a 5-story grand building, I thought he was going to say municipal building, but didn't say it. So I took notes. But yes, it's a gateway to the city. So it's important that it's well crafted. But there's a lot of potential there, a lot of great opportunity.
So to the point about the demolition of the site and funding, because of the remediation and the things, the utilizations in the past, is that site considered a brownfield?
There's an environmental. You want to talk about the environmental?
Yeah, so we did find that there were existing environmental hazards that do need to be removed. I don't know that it was necessarily identified as specifically a brownfield site. That is something that I'll have to check. But essentially, yeah, you'd have to basically remove everything that's already on site to get a clean slate for providing the new development.
Yeah, just because I know there is funding around for remediating brownfields or whatever. And to Mr. Mason, thank you for your comments. I've heard about the site in Pikesville. I was at a conference in Ohio, in Athens, Ohio, and we had a chance to tour an armory that they had become in possession of, and they turned it into a shared co-working space on the bottom floor. The top floor was sort of like a community gathering space where they could stage events with a commercial kitchen and whatnot. The site is not as large as the site we're talking about here, but I think there are some creative things we can certainly do.
A field trip up there sounds like a good idea.
We'll be happy to arrange
Pikesville?
one.
Yeah, to arrange a field trip to see that armory site.
Okay. So I think we've kind of come to a point. I don't really see how we can get much further with this tonight. As much as I'd like to, we could use some more public engagement, but I think we have come to a bit of a consensus about the site itself. Perhaps next steps are just the idea of phasing this in. But I do like some of the ideas. I'm not sure, 6 or 7. Did you say 10 stories? I don't know how that would go over, but yeah, something that makes a statement, a Greenbelt statement. It does make a lot of sense there. I think.
And there are some things that we would like direction on sooner than later. For example, the recruitment office, it's in bad shape. We want to start planning on demolition for that site and other parts of the site. Because they are a liability. We are concerned about people going into those spaces.
So once again, the question is how will we go about financing and funding that?
For the demolition, there's money available. We start applying for what funding's available and see how much we can get done with free money we can get.
I think we
Mr.
need to
Roberts,
hear a
go
lot
ahead,
more
please.
from our
Go ahead.
citizens before you start
What-
demolishing anything.
There's that wood structure,
Because I don't think that we've really looked at all the concepts that we could look at. So I don't think we should be limited, we shouldn't limit ourselves to just what we've seen tonight.
Well, if council wants us to pursue other concepts and want to keep going to study, we can do that. The recruitment office, the old military recruitment office, that's in bad shape.
Yes.
I want to demolish that. I think
Yeah.
we should, as soon as possible.
And that's a wooden structure, and it's a little
Yes.
bit easier to actually do that. Councilmember Pope.
I mean, thank you. Yeah, I was very quiet because I have to take all this information and see what, how we're gonna move forward. But I think the demolition of this
You don't
building
need to
that is,
you don't need to demolish
that's
that.
already,
Hold on.
that's
Ms. Pope's on the
already
floor.
sort of limited, it's just, it could, for all I know, it could just collapse, right? I mean, it's dangerous. People go in there.
It's a temporary building. You
And
can
we're-
haul it away.
well,
You
there
don't
you
have
go.
to tear it
And
down.
it's gonna be, it's
It
gonna
has
need,
wheels.
it needs to be torn down anyway, so I
It
think
has
the earlier,
wheels. You can haul it away.
the earlier we start to try to get funding to demolish this building, I think the better it is for us, right? As for the concepts, there are many concepts. I thank Mr. Waples for his input, because I always appreciate your expertise as well. So, and I did appreciate your comments about, and then, I don't know, if someone said about making, maybe moving the police up there, making a public safety compound or something. I think I would be interested in this as well. But let's see. I mean, this is just the beginning. These are all concepts. I think if we do surveys, I just really want to make sure that people know these are concepts. Things can change. There can be, this is a.
They'll definitely change.
This
Like,
is a
this is
fluid-
really the
fluid
beginning of the
situation.
process.
This is just the first step. This is just the first look at what could possibly happen there. So I think we just want to make sure that people are aware of that and not taking this like, okay, this is what's going to go there. So I think that's important to me. Thank you.
So with our relationship with the AMAR group, what's next?
Well, actually, this is the end of our contract.
Deliverable.
Yeah, so we did everything from task 1 through task 3. The final piece was to provide the 3 schemes with the costs associated, and we'll make another round pass at based on the comments that you've made today. But after that, that's basically the end of this feasibility study. So we'll talk to Tim, I guess, if you decide that you want to continue on with additional work.
Well, I think the framework that you've left us with is very, very strong. The 3 possibilities, and I'll say it again. I think you've done as good of a job as could possibly be done with the public engagement sessions and inviting people in. And I mean, you can invite people, and you have to kind of work with the input that you get. And I think you've done an excellent job. And just going through the different 4 sessions and seeing it kind of narrowed down from a lot of choices to 3, I think we're in a good place.
Thank you, sir. Yes, and we couldn't have done it without all of you guys. So really appreciate the partnership with all of you. Just your attendance and the care that you all have taken so far. Really, I just absolutely love Greenbelt, and I love the spirit here. So we just thank you for having the opportunity to work with you on this.
Thank you. We've got some very attractive townhouses and some single-family homes. And of course, there's GHI.
Absolutely.
We might have this new mixed-use development going in
Yeah,
too, as well,
imagine
so just
that.
keep your eye.
Okay, well, let's go ahead. If there are no further comments from council, thank you, Mr. George, for all of your work on this, and Mr. Summerone. It's a team effort, I know, and this is a big step, a lot of things to think about. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Tim.
I did have an information, it's not so much an information item, it's just sort of a question. There is so much paving going on in the city, it's really, really exciting. So the parking lot right now is being worked on along with Crescent Road. And the pathway going down to the youth center looks as though it's about to be repaved as well. So I was wondering if you can give us a quick update on how that's progressing along and what we can expect to see. And also, it's over by, I was playing tennis, I admit it. So I saw the fences were beginning to go in around Braden Field baseball field.
Correct. I take it today was in pickleball. Yes, a lot of work going on. The team is working over the next 2 weeks here in the municipal parking lot, and we expect to be done next 2 weeks. This week, the resurfacing of the Crescent Road is taking place. So that's all this week. The road has been, the millings have been done. That section of work is complete. So hence the equipment is now here at the municipal building, and they get through that space. So we expect over the next 2 weeks to complete that aspect of the work. Also started this week was the bike rack installation. The team were digging out the area, the perimeter for the grasscrete. So that work is, we hope to get that work done this week. That work will be done in 2 phases. So if you got there by Wednesday, Thursday, depending on the weather, we expect some rain tomorrow. So the grasscrete will be installed, and then the sections where the bike racks will go in will be cut out, and concrete will be poured in for those bike racks. So you see those 2 stages. So if you see the grasscrete and no bike racks, now you know why it's coming. The access road will be completed this hopefully this week. Again, it's weather dependent, but by end of September, early October, we'll be out of here with the resurfacing.
Yeah, it's great. So many new curves, so many roads being paved. It's and a lot of it's thanks to the American Rescue Plan funding that we were able to program for some of these projects. It's put us in a much better position coming out of COVID than we could have possibly been on our own.
This road project is being funded by city funds. The 1 million it's coming from city capital funds, but we have used some ARPA funding for different projects. Also, we expect to be done with the pool.
Yeah, I was about to ask. So how's that coming along with the outdoor pool is going to continue to be open? Someone posted a question. Is it open?
It is open. It is open, and we plan to have it open until we open the indoor pool, which we expect it to be no later than September 29th. I did a tour last week. The water is in. The team was shocking the water with chlorine. So, yeah.
So
maybe there's a heater for the outside pool. It was pretty chilly the other way.
Yeah, I walked the last week, and Stephen was telling me, or Cynthia was telling me that the water is 74 degrees. I said, "Oh, it's room temperature. It's cold."
That is cold. I'm telling you, I found out how cold that is. And trust me, it's chilly.
70.
I will add that the city manager's children also found out how cold that was after he very cavalierly stated that 74 was room temperature.
Yes.
I overlapped with them at the pool over the weekend. It is cold, but it is very bearable, and it still makes Greenbelt feel like a resort to be able to be in an outdoor pool this time of year. So it's really fun. Thanks for keeping it open.
Thank you. That's what I told my daughters. Like, look, it's September. You got a pool.
Yeah, I'm telling you, all the pools close up Labor Day weekend, and it's going to get hot again next week, supposedly up in the 90s and whatnot.
Right.
So, yeah.
See, so you could go swimming at Greenbelt Outdoor Pool in late September.
Give that a try, maybe.
Yeah. So there are some obstacles or things that we're being mindful of. The hot tub is being worked on, so we may open the indoor pool with that work ongoing. We're not. There won't be any issue. We can open with still having repairs on the hot tub, and then there'd be final punch outs that need to be done. We'll go through a quality assessment, making sure that the grout is right, that the seals are right. You know, we'll double check everything. So one of the things I looked with the team on Friday was looking at the grout on the tile, making sure that everything's covered, looking at the drainage pans and whatnot. So
Does the county have a role in us opening that up again? Do they have to, is a pool, some inspection thing?
there are inspections for the construction project, but we've hired a third party review and inspector, so we have a little more control over that. This is of course we put this in place before we heard the wonderful changes that have happened that are taking place at DPI, an announcement made here in Greenbelt last week.
That's right.
Yeah.
What did she say? 90 days? No, it's less than that. 3 weeks? Or?
Well, they're saying some projects are eligible for a 10-day permit turnaround.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, if there's